Championship. Golden Boy here alongside with Bitey and Gormizer. And gentlemen, we had a little bit of a delay, unfortunately. You know, it happens when you're in a live environment. You know, things take place, and that's just the nature of the beast known as esports. But the good news is everyone's ready to go, and we're just going to jump right into it. And firstly, I mean, we might as well just get those predictions out of the way here. We talked a lot about Renegades and the situation that they've had coming into this and NIP, and I would say that they're probably the favorites in this matchup.
Absolutely.
Who do you got?
I mean, I would say that the ball is in Nip's court to win the game. But I always don't really like making those draconian predictions of being black and white because I always feel like, you know, you get to see where the numbers fall. And that's a really important thing for me. So I think Renegades has the potential to take rounds, but it's definitely favoring for Nip.
Okay.
I'm over here like Fox Mulder. I have the I Want to Believe poster with a Renegade sticker on it, but I think Nip's going to be the one who steps it up. I think it's going to be a 2-0 for him.
Well, I'm going to be Agent Scully, and I'm going to be a realist.
Oh, dear.
I felt like mine was relatively realistic.
Yeah, right? And you're just over here bringing out, what is that, the X-Files?
X-Files. I don't know why my mind went to X-Files, but my mind went to X-Files.
Yeah? Okay, well, this is the desk that I'm working with this year, guys. All right, so... Okay, so let's take a look here at the ban. So NIP is going to ban Fish Market, whereas Renegades will ban Serpent Beach.
Fish Market is probably banned because it's a very hit scan oriented. Snipers are great, hit scan is great, and Renegades has a powerful team full of precision aimers.
Okay.
They weren't really known for the projectiles, but when you give them those snipers, Strix, Nessa, Leanne, they can show so much potential and maybe get an upset there. So I think that's just a safe ban, and it still requires, you know, traditional drafting on that particular map. So you just get it out of the way and you leave open the one like Timbermount.
I kind of like the Serpent Beach one as well, just because, again, it comes down to another map that a lot of players have a lot of experience on at this point, and you can dominate that map. You can and help use that to kind of dominate the rest of the picks. Actually going to Frozen Guard.
Yeah,
that's surprising to me.
I think it's a pretty fair map, you know. And when you get into the Frozen Guard drafts and lineups, it has a lot of different abilities to let both projectiles shine, like Bomb King. He's, you know, you think he's not very strong there, but you can be sorely mistaken. I've been defeated by a Bomb King on Frozen before. And it was not so great.
Didn't feel great.
Did not feel great.
All right. I mean, but then, you know, it is an oddball pick, so to speak. So why go there? You know, I mean, I guess it depends on how the picks and bans work out here. But like, why go to Frozen Guard?
I mean, for me, it's another one kind of like we would see maybe if you really wanted to lean towards like an Ice Mines first, where it's just we want to kind of take this the distance, or we want to show that even on a map that we shouldn't 4-0 on, we can find a 4-0. You can kind of show some dominance here, or you can drag it out to tire out the team. You know, talking about Renegades, we mentioned a player was sick. You want to get rid of that adrenaline, make the match last forever.
Yeah, and a big thing that comes out of Frozen Guards is it's based on momentum. When you lose control of the point, and that's like total control, it gets taken from you. What's going to happen is you can be pushed all the way back into your spawn and dismounted from there. So whoever gets the best point position is probably going to end up capping the whole point and setting a momentum for the rest of the push.
And a prioritized pick there for Buck. First pick for NIP, Gore.
I actually really like the way they set this. So the Shaolin, I feel like, was, again, kind of maybe a scuff at ShadeeyShades. Like, we know you can perform well on this. We know some other members of your team can play it as well, so we don't want you to have this. But we have seen ShadeeyShades play Buck, and we do not want him to have that either, so we need to grab it. NIP have that in their pocket as well. It's a very strong champion right now, so as long as they can keep this rolling, I kind of expect NIP to be able to roll with this. He's going to be a big factor for the game.
Yeah, Buck's clap ability to heal himself all the way back up is really hard to play into. We were talking about that earlier the other day. But I think what you see here with Torvald and Fernando, there's a card called Brand, and it's anti-heal, and it's 80%. And then when you synergize that with Torvald, Fernando can transition into this hyper-aggressive pusher when you have the Torvald bubble, which can also give him damage boosting if he selects that legendary form. And it can be a really great combo, coupled with the silence, which traps Buck in place. it could be a way to try to take care of him in an efficient fashion.
And especially with the way the use of the map works, I mean, at this point, you push it away, like you get control of the point. You have Fernando literally leading your team with the giant shield. Once he gets set up, it's going to be hard to get rid of him, especially if Torvald's able to come in and help supplement that. So
you guys talked about this map being very aggressive once you capture the point, right? Sorry to interrupt, but you know, so that probably is going to play a big role here. And Genos and Talus are going to be picked up, second and third, and then Brock for that support pick, perhaps. You know, they could opt to be
It'll
a little bit more
definitely be the DPS Brock.
Okay.
More than likely, he'll be running a chain lightning build, which gives him lots of control and lots of output. And what you see with that Genos and Talus is really good at applying, again, that anti-heal ability. There's a card that he runs, and it's great for letting him Wrecker and Cauterize at the same time, so it's really good against Torvald and Fernando.
I'm baffled that Bomb King has been so, like, relatively low priority, it feels like. I mean, we saw him banned out, but I mean, he made it down almost to the last few picks there, and it's just not usually what we were expecting. I mean, coming into this, especially after the last land, he was sitting at 100% pick ban rate. He was always played. He always had a high impact. It feels kind of hit or miss that he's not up here.
I feel like the theme of that one probably, and I give NIP credit for this, was respect. They respected what Renegades brought to the table early on, so they looked to just prioritize that, get rid of it as quickly as they possibly could, and then everything else kind of just like fell into place there. Whereas for Renegades, they're kind of just thinking about, like, it seemed like they're just trying to get creative with like how they're going to go and approach this, and probably just look for to be more aggressive. So overall, you guys satisfied with this?
I think what you saw from Nip is a very safe draft. Grover, half heal, great ult, great damage on this map. It's one of his best ones to run. And then with Renegade setting up there, they've tried to alleviate the pressure that Buck's going to apply.
All right, well, you know what, guys? We're going to go right into the game. It's now time for Renegades versus NIP. We'll be back here in a little bit to talk about the matchup. But for now, let's go ahead and send it over to your casters.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the Paladins World Championship placement matches. My name's Evan Rainday Rayner. Of course, I'm here with Alan, I Hold Shift, Donofrio. It's been a while, man. The pen is back.
The pen is back, and we haven't worked together since the Masters, so it's been literally almost more than half a year at this point. I feel like I've missed you, and I have.
I have missed you, too. I feel like it, and I also have.
I feel like, so you're at the fall finals, you had a little bit of a maybe memento.
I did. I kept the pen going, and you know what?
Oh,
I brought it back. So we're going to be pen brothers today, so we can both scribes as our secondary day jobs if this doesn't work out for us in the
We'll
end.
figure it out. We'll start our own scribe company.
So what do you think about that draft heading into it? Of course, Renegades and NIP. This is a matchup a lot of people want to know about. We see some pros from some of the top-tier teams in the other regions sitting down to watch this one because there's a lot of promise within both these teams.
Well, yeah, you're looking at Renegades, which, again, they had that fortunate spot to come back in. They had that whole tie for sixth thing that happened to the fall finals. But then you have NIP, who came out strong throughout the season. Struggled a little bit early on when it came to the actual fall finals, and then ended up finishing in the third overall PPL spot. The big question, and again, the desk hit it so well, is that this Renegades team hit scan, hit scan, hit scan, hit scan, including their supports. 1 in 5 is Stormtroopey on Damba, and he's forced to play Damba this time. So it'll be interesting to see how that all looks.
I mean, ShadeeyShades was talking to us a little bit before the game, and I want to talk a little bit about his mentality because he seemed pretty relaxed heading into this as well, even though he knew that his support had barely gotten any sleep, if any, last night as well. That's Stormtroopey. But he said, you know what, I'm stuck playing Grok a lot these days. But he didn't seem mad about it. It seems like Renegades, whatever it is, they've had a lot of ups and downs. They've had some moments of beating the best teams and losing to the best teams, but they seem to have maybe come in here a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more confident, easygoing. I wonder how that will help them here on game day.
You know, I think that's a conversation for a lot of those kind of off-support, self-sustaining damage dealers is what they're turning into. It's one less thing you have to worry about as a support player. You don't really have to worry so much about that off support because he can heal himself. And that also allows, again, those kind of the more freedom for those players to go in when they feel like they can help themselves out or stay back and keep themselves healed up. Whatever the situation calls for, and you talk about players like ShadeeyShades, who is so well veteran, has so much experience on so many different facets of the game, it really should feel pretty hand-in-hand with how his play style has progressed.
Now, NIP coming into this matchup with 3 of their members world champions from last year, 3 defenders of this exact tournament, and 2 who were in that finals. So it wasn't easy for Renegades to see a route to victory here, but what they are known for, I Hold Shift, is actually being able to play when the lights are on, to turn on this kind of special power and be a little bit better than even the best thought they could be. Do you expect that here? How do you look at this matchup going off from Your predictions?
It's really tough. I think when you look at Renegades roster, any one of their big flex damage players can be that star. You have Lokii, you've got ShadeeyShades, who can really step it up and just turn it on and make themselves that big push to get them over a hurdle like an NIP. But on the flip side, that's 3 rings and then 2 dudes who took them to 7 a year ago. So, I mean, it's really hard to slice that one up as far as how do you tackle an NIP. I mean, they're just so well-rounded from start to finish. You look at everything on paper, and how do you beat
gaps,
that?
really.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's one of the benefits, and I would say if you look at a well-rounded, you look at a versatile, you look at a veteran roster, NIP has to come into your mind. But, you know, Renegades, we can't count these guys out yet, and I think the message for all of us casters looking at this, heading into this tournament, we're having our dinners and just discussing it before, is that we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
There's so many variables here at play, from people getting sick, from rosters not being complete, from people playing different metas or not understanding what the metas will be. It's kind of like we're along for the ride as well.
I feel like the health thing of it, like mental or physical, as players come in, we
gotta
say
get the coaches 7.
Yeah, we say it so often though when it comes to LAN is that so many things change, and it could not be more true. I mean, you have someone like Stormtroopey who has been such a huge part of keeping that team alive, especially with a frontline squad that, you know, was really kind of developing when they came into the PPL and now is up there near the top. That's a lot thanks to Stormtroopey keeping them alive and giving them chances to, you know, have that health pool extend. If he's not feeling well and he's not performing as well as he could, that really can bring down the entire mentality, you know, of a full squad. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But as you mentioned, does Renegades have the potential of turning it on and surprising? I think more than anybody else here.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at Renegades as well, what would be that comeback factor? Because I first thought, if anyone's going to really change the shape of this game, maybe give them that game day advantage, I think it's going to be Lokii playing big. I know that we expect a lot from ShadeeyShades. Stormtroopey's been as consistent as ever, but Loki's really the guy I have my eye on personally. Would you kind of counter those sentiments, or would you have somebody else that you're looking for?
He's been very hot and cold,
right?
But I think the thing is, what champion is he's playing? You know, they played Androxus more than anybody else. We're not going to see him here, and as we start to see these champions come out, that's the potential, these surprise picks, as we get ready to go into game.
Rosengard will be the map. This one is interesting as a first pick. Don't often see it, but what other time than Hi-Rez Expo to see it here first? Renegades, NIP, about to get started now. Alan, heading into this one, so many question marks, but they're going to be answered in just a moment. Luminary for Bird, who's running the Genos. Bulk up, as we've seen, and Fastian bargain for bonkar. We'll see if he ends up switching there or if he keeps that legendary. Lokii with the chain reaction and the Aegis from Cliku for the Fernando. He's on to watch out as we start this ball game off. Buck heading to the left side.
And he's going off by himself, too. You can see right through the walls. Renegades is getting closer towards that right wall side. It's going to open up Laizy to come back in. Ethereal gets first blood, though, onto the Talus. So that's a big opening there for Renegades to start things off.
Laizy by himself, taking care of himself, as Bulk Up Buck likes to do. One shot with the shotgun into Fernando, but a Torvald bubble keeps him alive. Not for long, though. Shipa will find Lokii there with the first kill of the day for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They've got 5 back, but 45% on the objective for Renegades.
Inara is coming right back in, though, and she's so self-sustainable. That big damage reduction that can come in, having that Mother's Grace up, and of course the wall, which can block off one of those entryways completely. As bonkar finds ShadeeyShades, that's a big pick down, and now Buck looking to get aggressive on the left side.
The battle of anti-heal, Antediluvian versus Brand 4. Which one is going to win? It seems like Talus has won the day so far. 33% now and climbing for Ninjas in Pyjamas as they continue to press the advantage and create this space. This is what's so difficult about Frozen Guard. It's hard to get back here and contest the objective, but if anyone could do it, it could be Renegades. 66% and counting now.
Yeah, no ultimates again. Very early on, it comes down to can you get the poke, and right now Bomb King not getting the job done. 87% counting up. You can see the Overpowered is just going straight into this Torvald, who cannot escape. He will fall. Laizy cleaning that one back up, and now bonkar looking for some backline pressure. The 1v1 versus Lokii. We are in overtime, though, and now some ultimates coming out.
bonkar gets so far behind, but no one can chase him because they've got to pay attention to the point. Overtime still sticking there, and Renegades cannot move. If they do, Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to be able to find that objective, but a couple go down, but 3 go down on the side of Laizy, starting the day off strong. No land nerves here. Buck still going wild.
Fernando's actually going to hold this one. He's got the overtime triggered, and oh, nice Void Grip there to keep the Torvald away. That's going to be NIP with the first point. 1-0 on the scoreboard, and now looking to take down Torvald. No escape, and both frontliners, PERDO with that ferocity, able to find 2 big kills. Huge plays to start.
Well, Lokii with a pause there, and again, you could just see the dominance from the bulk up Buck. This was the big talking point, especially when Virtus.pro brought it to the land just a few months ago, and now still showing very powerful as an asset for European teams, but on Laizy, which we haven't had the pleasure of kind of seeing, and he's always a question mark for NIP.
You know, talking with him too, you know, a big question mark going into LAN is how much Eevee are we going to see?
Yeah.
Because there's always a couple of people who really like the champion a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Laizy being, of course, the old kind of true blood of playing Eevee. He said, I would love to play her again. Of course, he did not have the most confident showing at the fall finals, but again, seeing him going into things like Buck, it's just a different look for him. PERDO was the big Buck player before. Laizy holding it down nicely so far.
Excellent start by NIP. If they can continue, it's going to be easy coasting for them here. But Renegades still have a lot more game to play. It is 1-0 after the game had been paused. But heading into it now, it's anybody's ball game here. Push, though, for NIP as they continue to zone here on Frozen Guard.
And if you're Renegades, you need to get a little aggressive. Hold that underpass. Get yourself a presence in those mines on that perspective right side for NIP. If they can hold this off, that's a lot of time that could be killed, a lot of poke that they can get favoring themselves. But, again, they need to find a way to get that line of sight.
A lot of damage coming from Grover. And the Axis hits the crippling throw onto the Grok, going to force him back in a healing totem as well. Huddling together is Renegades, but one falls, and this could be dominoes here as we do see the seismic crash come out. Cliku forced into the Immortal very early, isolated through time and space, lined up by Bird. Doesn't find a kill, but Laizy has the pleasure of that one as well. He gets himself on the scoreboard yet again.
Oh, and he's found the right target as well. Damba is that juicy target right in front. He's going to be by himself. He's standing at a gourd, has a Nara low, but the Slither being down now, it's only a matter of time. Laizy finding himself 7 in a row. The payload's right here. The impasse wall's in a good spot.
Nice.
We're going to be able to get it 2-0.
Laizy looking anything but caps off the payload with a fantastic kill right there onto ShadeeyShades, who now maybe a little bit more saltier about playing that Grok this time around. Easy triple kill to start, though, Alan. This really was smooth sailing for NIP.
Yeah, the Buck Wild came out at the exact right time. He had a nice flank route on that high ground, almost finding himself the quad, but again, you saw Fernando. He can be really kind of a presence when he gets that shield up. And again, Torvald came in, gave him a protective bubble. They talked about that on the desk. That's a really good combo. The thing about it for Renegades is you need to find a way to get on the point, not only hold it, but try to push NIP back. Anar is so hard to displace. That's the big struggle so far for RNG.
And despite only having one front line, they are winning that point battle. That's the thing. And it is the space that's being created, but it's not the space that's up front. It's the space that PERDO is with the axes. This Grover creating so many obstacles. You can only fight in these narrow channels, otherwise risk taking 1,100 damage to the face. Laizy with a nice flank already puts the healer to half health. Stormtroopey not in a good spot. Starting things off, though, Grok on the point, but forced off yet again, and everyone just bundled together. They're getting pincered right now, Alan.
Yeah, but Renegades does have 4 ultimates up, a lot that can create space, but the question is, will it come out? Here's the Tempest. The True Power also coming out for Talus to counter and respond. The King Bomb being channeled up here, though, but will it find the right targets?
So far, no kills. 3 ultimates used. Whirlwind, True Power, and King Bomb, and nothing. What a wild point fight, but still contesting on the objective is NIP. 24% to 23 now with a 2-0 lead. Bird finds that kill, and that may be the snowball they needed. Isolating ShadeeyShades. Laizy finds another, and this looks like it's going NIP's way yet again.
Almost a full team wipe. It is just the Fernando left alive, and Bonker's right on his tail, hot on his heels. Although it looks like he will allow him to escape to live another day for now. But Laizy finds 1 kill on the right-hand side, so it is a full team wipe, although delayed. That's a great stagger if you're NIP.
Oh, it's fantastic, and there's no way they can get back to this. Again, one of the treacherous aspects of Frozen Guard, and NIP will take their 3rd objective in a row here against the Renegades. It's looking very similar to the first set. We talked to some people earlier who said they expect a lot of steamrolls today. I don't know if I was expecting this kind of a start.
Well, and the thing about it, too, you go back to that team fight where there are 5 to 6 ultimates being used and nobody dies. That's a really good true test to see how Renegades is matching up. You know, if you can stay composed, you can stay in control of yourself, even though all of this is happening. Immortal now being used, and it's actually going to keep Fernando alive and back up NIP. Ooh, big crowd control coming out from the Dreadstone. These are kills for RNG. They need to find more, though.
And more importantly, it's staggering, right? They are getting that 5v3 now if they want to go ahead and take those fights. They lost 1, so it's really a 4v2. But it is enough to stall that payload push, and that's what they need, just a bit of respite to go ahead and handle this. Now, looking at this, though, Alan, I mean, do you think that they didn't use those ultimates fast enough? Is that what went wrong for Renegades in this second objective?
When it comes to the point, it's tough. Right here, it's great use because the payload is just underneath that underpass. You get yourself that positioning back, and it gives you all of that much-needed time to try to kill away. We're at minute 25 until overtime. Bonker's going to push the left-hand side respectfully. He does have true power, but he does use his teleport to come on back, so it's a safe poke for now.
There's a lot of secret, funny strategies you could use with True Power here on Frozen Guard, but they haven't had to use them. They haven't pulled them out. Right now, Lokie's just getting the bread and butter there. Oh boy, and that's a nice accoutrement as well. The through time and space would have cleaned him up if the Blitz up or didn't, and now bonkar on a 12 streak seems to be the thorn in Renegade's side. They just can't get out. That's 3 more from Laizy, the second triple kill of the day. That's a triple-double. I'm hungry.
He messed around and got a triple-double. I mean, Laizy is just doing everything right. He's poking, he's poking, he's poking. bonkar sees an opening and says, go. He comes in, he gets himself another triple kill. 40 seconds left. The payload's already here, and with a nice void grip, it's going to be NIP taking a very well-rounded 4-0 victory in map 1.
Well, what a fast victory, and what a... I mean, this is a little redundant, but victorious victory from NIP. And it really was. I mean, this is something to celebrate in terms of they're coming in handling business. That's what they want to do here, and they expected this as well. We talked to them a little bit earlier. They were sitting in the stands and saying, we expect to win. We're confident. Same thing as usual. And I think that's what a lot of fans at home were probably expecting as well.
I mean, how could you not? Again, 3 rings and 2 dudes who took him to 7. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's flat out. It's an all-star lineup when it was formed. And to see them coming back into the fall, having a little bit of a struggle, but taking, again, that big VP set all the way to 7, there's just so much going for this roster. I know a lot of people are looking at it like, well, they're coming out of a pretty tough group.
Right.
But they have a potential of winning all of it, and you can see exactly why through that showcase there.
And I think it's interesting because we are looking at a potential winner of this tournament.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that Renegades can't perform well here as well. They are not out if they go down this next game. They will be played, just knocked down into that double elimination. But it does seem to be that this high talent level that they've had that has gotten them this far, even an invitation here, is showing up a little inconsistent today. We haven't seen any sparks. I need to see something from somebody if they're going to have a chance of pulling this one back.
And you mentioned Lokii earlier as far as being a player to look at. The Bomb King just
didn't work.
Did not have much going for him.
Nothing.
I mean, you look at the crowd control that he can bring. It's just, NIP just moved around it so well. I mean, they had so many good open flanks. You saw so many times that Buck was pushing one side, the rest of the team was on the other. And that's just a lot of damage. Just essentially, you mentioned it, they were pincered at that one point, and that was really, really detrimental when it came to Renegades trying to find space for the Bomb King to get that damage out. It just wasn't there.
Well, I think what was so interesting is you wonder, why are they fighting behind those pillars? Why are they so pincered? It's because if they stepped out to the left any farther, PERDO with Grover Axes was going to just end the fight right there. Part of the game and the way that they had to fight was due to the draft of NIP, and that's always where I think European teams over North American teams, at least in our Paladins history, brief as it has been over a couple years, have always had the upper draft, the upper step against NA, and it's just in that early draft.
Oh, you talk about the upper step again. It's Laizy throughout that entire match that kept cleaning up all these kills, did a lot of early poke as well to allow his frontliner, singular by the way, Inara, to move up for free. There's just so much you can say about Laizy. He's so versatile. He's been able to really establish himself in a number of different champions, and I think when we saw the Buck come out, we probably both thought in our heads it was going to be PERDO.
Oh, yeah.
Laizy showed up, a couple of triple kills. It's just incredible to see his mobility with the rest of his teammates to capitalize on these moments.
And what I like seeing, too, is that PERDO giving that up to Laizy. Whatever the conversation is, PERDO normally so known with the Buck. It goes hand in hand. You think PERDO, Buck. But he's letting Laizy have that, and I think that's important for Laizy to take that ownership role. If they're going to win, I think Laizy needs to be the star of this team. I think he needs to own this roster with him and bonkar and Bird and allow PERDO and Shipa to fill in the best that they can, because that's really what this roster is.
It really is. And, you know, again, just showing his expertise, a lot of, you know, mid-level and, like, amateur players have a lot of trouble knowing when to hit that Buck Wild ultimate.
Yes.
You feel like you can chew through everybody, but it still takes some time to get that health pulled down. He hits it when everyone is below 50% HP, and that's just really good discipline to know when to use those ultimates. That was a big talking point when we saw Virtus Pro sweep their way through the fall finals. It was just good, raw, mechanical Paladins. We're seeing hints and shades of that here, I think, from NIP.
Yeah, it's a big look at me button, too, which is why it's so difficult. When you hit that train sound, basically everyone looks. And so if you're not prepared, it's easy to go down after you ult. It's often a negative, especially if you're in my games. Of course, though, heading into this one, they've got one more to try and test it. What do you think is the big, I guess, lever that needs to get turned, that changed for Renegades to be able to compete with NIP here? Is it Lokii? Is it something else?
It's tough to say. You know, when we saw them throughout the season, they had a lot of really hot weeks, a lot of really cold weeks. You saw them in the fall finals. They struggled against certain champions. They did really well in others. So they need to find something that, you know, don't play NIP's game. You're down a map, just erase it from your memory, come back in, play the game that you know you can play, and just give it all your best. Whatever it comes down to draft, whatever it happens, if it's a good one for you, a bad one for you, you got to go in just headstrong and just feeling like you can take one off of them. Because if you go in playing NIP's game, they're just going to do the same exact thing.
And this is why draft matters, too, because it's a best of 3. One better draft, one game. You're already have to pull out all your strats, all your tactics. Renegades backs against the walls. I personally think just knowing Shades, we may see some Leon here. It's Stonekeep. It's such a comfort pick for him. And he was that guy that came into the PPL after having not played for 6 months and basically just said, oh, let's play Leon Eminence. That's fun. It's like, hey, that's not meta. It's precision. It's alacrity. Hey, it worked. And then it became meta, and it's really dang good on him.
Yeah, especially on him. I mean, he was one of the premier players that we saw throughout the fall season picking up that Leon that everyone kind of had a taboo feeling against.
Yeah.
Not the case for him. I mean, that's been always the case. He was one of the big premier Cassie players before she came into that whole limelight that she lived in for so long, was ShadeeyShades on Cassie. You're going to have a really bad time playing up against that, and you can have a similar conversation with him on Leon. Now, again, Stonekeep, you mentioned it, really good for Leon, also still really good for characters like Grover. So it's one of those things that if you're RNG, again, I don't think they need to be in too much of NIP's head. What are they going to play? What should we do to ban or outpick them? Just go for what you can possibly pull as being a good, solid 5-man roster for you. The Bomb King ban is, again, I think probably necessary.
And I mean, looking at this, now NIP has to ban the Buck because ShadeeyShades will pick that up. I believe they will first pick that if it comes to them. It is a risk, though. But ShadeeyShades feeling confident on that. That's one of his old ones as well.
Exactly. I mean, you look at Makoa, I mean, when it comes to frontliners, he has so much value because, again, one Dredge Anchor. You pull one enemy away from their team. We saw how big positioning was just in that last game.
Yeah.
You take somebody out of the equation, you get an instant 5v4. That's, you know, steamroll potential there. Same thing, though, Buck, again, we mentioned it so many different times. His potential to poke and then capitalize on low HP pulls. A really solid pickup here for RNG to start up their draft.
Torvald Fernando, who would have thought, taking the place of Inara Terminus back in the last LAN we had where these teams who were coming to HRX were being decided. You would have seen the Stigala pair picked up right there if they were available, without a doubt. But Fernando really rising up in terms of, I think, priority for a lot of these teams.
And at the same point, you don't want to go up against the Buck Torvald.
Right.
We talk so much about field study, the protective
That's
shield,
part of
giving that boosted damage to what is already a lot of damage in your face. It just makes him even more higher tier on the pinnacle chart when you look at it. So as you go to RNG here, you're going to be going up against, you know what frontliners are going up against, but here's the thing, NIP can pull triple front on this map, so you kind of have to keep that in the back of your mind. Talus will come out. It's opening the door, I think, for NIP here to potentially pull out a triple front.
They've raised a lot of questions about that triple front line of theirs. They pulled criticism from casters and community members alike, also a lot of praise. And it has worked, it also hasn't worked. I think it'd be a risk, but you do have to keep that in the back of your mind if you are RNG. They grab the Ruckus. They've got one more to lock it in before NIP responds with 2 and gives RNG their last pick of the day. What are you looking for here?
It's interesting because, again, you have the Torvald, so do you utilize a flank that can be protected? And Droxus is going to come out, and again, we talk about PERDO so often.
Yeah.
Another hand-in-hand champion that you get with him. Genos also coming through. Again, we saw the Luminary picked up last time. That's, again, more damage boost based on the card selections that they have for the Legendaries. This is a lot of damage initially, and RNG, you know, you figure they have to go into the Meldamba, but from here, what other frontliner do you help out to give Ruckus a chance? I feel like it has to be Inara, and this is a good setup for NIP against that so far, I think.
Yeah, I think it is as well, and they could flex into anything if they want to run. I think even a Drogos here could be possible.
Yeah.
The hit scan threat isn't that much, but a lot of people worry about the Buck into Drogos and Talus as well. If he's got his eyes on that, mostly with that Antediluvian, loves to pick off Torvald and Fernando's, the big guys, and get those healing numbers down. But Inara is going to provide them a bunch of time and let those flankers have freedom to reign, because they won't have to worry about the objective too much.
Freedom's the key word, and I think if you, on both sides, when you talk about Buck, you talk about Androxus, whichever flank finds the ground to move, find those holes, they're going to be the ones that have all the freedom and have the biggest impact. You said the Drogos, you're going to see the Drogos. I mean, it's just such a good combo when you have a Ruckus and Inara who are, again, a little more difficult to deal with on point. Drogos is really good at countering that out.
I'm impressed that they picked this, because at LAN, everyone was so scared to pick Drogos into Buck. Actually, one of the only teams was the Team Purity, who was from the PGS, the Paladins Global Series. Redx, who was willing to play Drogos into Buck. Now, it didn't work. So maybe that's not a good stat for me. But I do think it's great that NIP have said, you know what, yes, this could counter. Buck is very strong. He's your first pick, but we're confident enough to play it. And this is going to be a good test for Laizy with that Worm Jet style.
A test is what I was going to go with as well, because when you looked at it, we were initially talking about the potential of a 3 frontline composition. This is a good time for them to test out, to see how things feel once again, you know, having a couple of months since the fall, to really find out, you know, triple frontline didn't work so much back then. Can we possibly pull it out here? Instead, they're going to test out the Drogos, and I think this is a really good lineup to really kind of see how the 1v1 could potentially fade out between Buck and Drogos.
Very interested as to how these two matchups will play. Of course, we saw Frozen Guard go distinctly in the way of NIP, but now Stone keep a little bit of a different kind of measure. A lot of the fighting happens on that upper balcony towards the left side, and that is important. Who do you think has the control over that one? I mean, an early salvo could just be the end for RNG.
It's really tough, and as we take a look through the map as well before we get into game, Drogoz has the potential of moving through those windows, but Buck also goes platform to platform. As you see, that's the area we're talking about right there with that elevated high ground, those stairs, those platforms. It provides a lot of dynamic team fights. We'll see how this first movement pans out.
And here we go. It will be the Worm Jets from Laizy. That's what I was looking out for. Bulk up Buck as well from ShadeeyShades. PERDO hiding like a dark stalker, some would say. PERDO already finding the bullets and the revolver. Doesn't miss enough, and ShadeeyShades goes down to first blood.
Missed that heroic jump to try to get back through. Right into the tapestries on the walls will be the first blood here. In the early 30%, Inara has to back up. Ruckus as well is dealing with a lot over by the Ivy side, and now it's bonkar taking the reins up front, using that Torvald to get those shields out, throw a little spam, and Laizy is up here for free. They need to get Laizy off this high ground.
So safe here, and using his rockets, 850 a pop to still do enough damage, and as I like to say, he is in the right spot for rockets right now. 66% for Ninjas in Pyjamas, 30% now for Renegades on the objective. A little bit of a slow measuring contest between these two, as it seems to be that Renegades are going to give this one up. I don't know if they can make it back, and they won't. NIP, first objective.
Really smart play from Shipa and Laizy, continuing to hold that high ground for as long as possible. That's the Alamo for them. If you can keep that all in your control, there's really no chance for Renegades to get onto the point for free. So really good play to keep that pressure on the right-hand side of the map.
How about PERDO getting the early start on to ShadeeyShades? Buck had no impact in that first part of the fight, and again, PERDO seeks him out. Is this personal, PERDO? Wow. 2 kills there, 3 for the game. Continues to dominate and playing it very safe yet deadly. PERDO walking a fine line, but a very effective line here in game 2.
And has an accursed arm ready as well to see if he opens the door with that. Well, really kicks the door down as he does find a kill there into Ethereal, so has a chance here. Again, the frontliner being down, an opportunity for NIP to get aggressive. Laizy having a little bit of a not fair duel right there with the Ruckus. We'll back up and reset.
I don't care if you have Fusillade or not. That Dragon Punch still does enough damage to take one down, and there it is. Cliku goes down right as the bell tolls, and Laizy finds himself another kill, playing so safe on this Drogoz. PERDO frontlining, but with a Torvald bubble, it's all okay. Feared away, won't get the reversal off, and he's still alive. Good idea coming through from Stormtroopey, but not enough execution for Renegades to stop this push.
Yeah, that Dread Serpent was only used really to try to keep Ethereal alive, who was a little out of position and gets turned on Immortal. Very well used. And this is going to be NIP right on top of the point. PERDO's dealing the damage. It will trade 2 for 2, but once again, you still have Torvald here. You still have Genos. They need to find a way, does Renegades, to take them off the table.
Hyper Beam, is this enough? No one's there by the point, goes towards it, and it's Ethereal back there in Aura. She's going to hold things down. Mama, don't go down so quick. But there she is, PERDO. Changes the tone of that conversation. Lokii finds PERDO right back, and this is definitely the most contested battle we've seen at all throughout this set.
Renegades needs to find a way to get up top again. They need to get this high ground. If you can get a Ruckus up there to try to deal some damage for free with those dual winning miniguns, it'll make life a little bit harder for NIP, but so far, it's just been a stroll through the park. We do have only 30 seconds left. NIP only having the 3 space and time to use. We'll see what they decide to expend to try to get this 2-0.
And expect maybe that to be used when a Hexifier comes through from the Ruckus. He's stationary at that point. True power here, start things off. Doesn't find a kill. There it is, Lokii will finish off Laizy. That's important, but it's still 1-for-1 trade as bonkar does find that, and PERDO finds a double. Now things are shifting towards NIP. If they could just get this last kill, it is all but sure that they will push this through, but Inara's lasting a little too long. She goes down finally. Isn't enough. Kliku's back.
It's advanced, trying to get back through. We'll be there, but the health is just not there. So now it's up to the damage dealers to try to toggle this overtime. PERDO's still full HP with the protective shield. We'll find ShadeeyShades again. NIP up 2-0 and a little bit of extra frosting on the cake. There as Lokii drops.
Boy, oh boy. Money in the bank. Cash the check on that one. That was a crazy round coming through from Renegades and NIP. Renegades had a couple of moments where they were able to defend, I think, in a stalwart effort, but PERDO was just too good too often.
I mean, he opened the door with that kill onto the Buck, played by ShadeeyShades, and then continues to get aggressive. Here is the second iteration of that battle, finding the low HP pull. A Void Grip really well done once again by Bird. It's incredible to see just the communication, these little mini moments. You know, Bird has always got to say is, you know, Loki's floating.
Yeah.
Oh, PERDO's fine. Easy snapshots, able to take him down really quickly. And again, those small moments lead to these big, momentous occasions where this payload moves for free for so long.
It's true. They just found a lot of small kills early on, and they really set the tone. I mean, ShadeeyShades dying quite quickly. Not only was that a 5v4 situation now that really actually helped NIP win this quickly, but it was a morale situation as well. Heading back into this one, though, it is 2-0. 15% now for NIP as they've given 35% already for Renegades, but PERDO is still on a rampage, and Bird hasn't died.
This is incredible. I mean, again, PERDO is just, again, you said freedom early on. It's been nothing but the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence being signed by PERDO. He's got all the freedom in the world, and he's finding so much opportunity through space and time. Again, connects for a little bit of HP, pulled the Accursed Storm, trying to keep everyone off the point. 84% though, Evan, and it's still looking good for NIP.
93, but one shot will take down ShadeeyShades yet again. Midair stalled. Ethereal looks good, doesn't get what he wants. He goes down. PERDO yet again. Let's see if he can make it a triple. Shipa steals his fire there. Yet still heats things up for NIP. 3-0 starting out, and it could be an easy 4-0 and a secured spot in the next round.
That's exactly what NIP is shooting for here. I mean, they got a chance to give Drogo some work, and he's been doing it very successfully. Cliku will find a kill into PERDO, so again, if they can keep him alive here, this is an opportunity for the defense to surge forward. But Laizy's is getting aggressive. Again, able to keep this high ground in his favor. Good shields, good heals will keep Cliku alive. So kind of a stall out for the moment for NIP.
Hard to see what's going wrong with Renegades right here. There's just so much going right for NIP, and that's what we really needed to see here. Renegades, not a lot of people consider them winning opportunists here at this LAN, but NIP, they are fighting. 3 of them to defend their championship, and 2 of them to get one that they lost in Game 7 last year. This could be the start of their road. Shipa looks determined, backpedals with the shield up. True Power here looking to hit and misses. Lokii can't find the dragon in the sky, but he will find the Spaniard on the floor. But PERDO, who else comes to answer the call?
ShadeeyShades finally getting a little bit of momentum here. This is the opportunity that he needs to really get himself comfortable. It's a 4-on-3. Find another kill, get back in there. There we go. Bonkar also falls. It's just Bird left alive. But again, he's so slippery. You talked about that kill streak he had for a lot of the game.
Yeah.
He's better than almost anybody else when it comes to supporting, to know when he's going to be in danger, and keeping himself alive is so clutch.
Being in that 3P with Stellar Wind, you could just see so much of the field of vision. And with Stonekeep, there's only a few channels you can aggress onto an enemy, and that's one of the benefits of having these kind of heavy wall, heavy corridor maps, and being able to play Genos as your support. 55 seconds left, and Hexafire gets started. This may be Renegade's last defense, but it ain't looking so good. PERDO takes Cliku down in the middle of a Hexafire, and Ethereal able to find a return kill onto Shipa on the Fernando.
Still plenty of time as well to get their player back. Does NIP. They have an Accursed Arm, a little bit of a juke out, run forward and back. Seismic Crash comboed with the Dread Serpent will be enough to get a couple of kills. That might just be enough to give Renegades, again, that little bit of surge they need to sustain this defense. But so much was just used there, Evan.
And that's really the key. So much used. But at this point, they're not fighting for tomorrow. They're fighting for right now. They're fighting for their every breath. They cannot let anything go wasted. You do not want to end this set, in this game, get relegated to the second side of the bracket and say, oh, I still had an ultimate left.
Exactly. Now with our third commentator counting us down from 10, what is going to be used here? A couple of ults for NIP. Will they try to put this one to bed right now? Looks like it will be PERDO finding one kill. That's going to open the door. Dragon Punch being channeled up as well. Can they find another kill? It will be on ShadeeyShades at the nick of time.
Oh, they're going for it. Laizy with a double. Starting things off great. NIP off to the races here, and that's going to be Laizy with another one. He puts the finishing touches on what an incredible play, and their appetite looks just from being fulfilled as they take a 4-0. And we all know this is just the start of something here at the Paladins World Championship.
I mean, NIPs, they're so fluid. I mean, you watch them and it's literally like watching, you know, a veteran ice skater on ice for the millionth time. It's just everything just works all the time. It's a fluid functioning machine, and, you know, you can see RNG is just kind of stunned. You mentioned it. It's not so much what is RNG doing wrong, and that's, I think, a lot of frustration when you do go down 2 straight maps, both of them being 4-0s. I think it's the flat-out answer is, you know, PERDO and Laizy just controlled both games from start to finish.
And that's important. Who shows up today? Lokii, great player. A lot of these guys, ShadeeyShades, Stormtroopey, everybody, great players. But they needed to show up. You can't just have talent. Talent only gets you so far. You have to be able to show up on the day, and that's what, obviously, NIP did. But again, can you blame Renegades for this result? Probably not. I think this is more of just NIP continuing their story, as 5 of those members who were in the finals last year try to make it back. This was game 1. It went their way. A lot of it had to do with this man right here, PERDO, on the Androxus.
And again, him on anything he plays, he can turn situations just that don't look good into great moments. Even here, you can see the Accursed Storm chewing through the Inara. That's a priority pick. You take Inara off the table, and again, it allows your frontliners to get aggressive. So, I mean, and this is the duel. I mean, him and ShadeeyShades, it was just easy pickings all day long, literally just a farm of buck for PERDO at the moment.
I mean, he had 4 shots out of his 8, excuse me, with ShadeeyShades' name on it, and he didn't miss a single one, and that's exactly why ShadeeyShades just had such little uptime. This is bulk up buck. He's supposed to stay alive. He's supposed to poke, and he wasn't able to do his intention of that legendary of this character and why he's so highly valued in the meta. So it essentially was a nothing pick because of how fast he was dying.
And you know, you look at that moment where he reversals about 80% of Cliku's ultimate as Ruckus and sends it all right back. That's the potential that Androxus has to completely, you know, flip an opportunity against you very quickly. One ability takes your ultimate and just has you take a sip of your own medicine. And that's when you look at a character like Androxus that you don't see a lot, he has the potential of bringing these comps to life, you know, where you have one personal, you know, vendetta against somebody that you can outflank, or in that instance where you can counter an entire ultimate back. Those are the moments where Androxus can really shine, and PERDO better than just about anybody else.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because just last LAN, Elvin Path from the #1 seed here, Virtus Pro, said PERDO's Androxus was washed up. Doesn't look washed up to me. Nope. What do you think, Analyst Desk?
Oh, some spicy words there. You know, interesting
Throwing him under
stuff.
the bus, too.
I know. But you know what, though? PERDO, I mean, that looked anything than washed up. I mean, he would... I mean, sure, you know, there was some cleaning involved because he was just wiping the floor with Renegades, and that Androxus was ridiculous. And honestly, I did not expect the Drogos to be that much of a factor, but that last play there was so sick. Just seeing that Dragon Punch come through, take out the Buck, who nearly had the opponent dead to rights. Like, just the little details that kind of push them. And they were in full control of that entire situation, despite them pushing back. But wow, what a performance from NIP.
Yeah, and I think a big difference here is the drafts. I've taken notes on both of those games, and in both instances, NIP is just showing total dominance. With the way that those matchups worked, we looked at Frozen Guard, Buck, Genos, Talus, Grover, and Nara. That's a hyper-mobile setup, and what they were fighting into was a Torv Nando and Brock BK Damba. That's slow. That means that you can get surrounded easy with those high mobile champions, and it just kind of completely outpositioned them. And like I said, you saw they got pushed all the way back into spawn, and they couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
And one of the things, you know, when we were watching, we were talking about the fact that you didn't have, for Renegades, range. No one could actually hit anyone that was on the point once they got pushed out. On the other side, once they got control of the point, Grover's just tossing the axes slowly but surely, consistent damage being thrown down. Even if he only hits half of them, he's still being able to stop Renegades from getting up there. So the map, once they got that control, they held it so hard that there was nothing that Renegades really had, especially draft-wise, but even when it came down to the play, you couldn't execute anything to get you back in there.
Yeah, and that just kind of shows their planning, because they picked Frozen, and banning that Shah, who is pretty well against flankers. He has a lot more opportunity. You can't run snipers against a Buck and Talus very easily. And that doesn't even get to start to talk about Game 2's draft.
Yeah, and while it was a story of the draft really winning out on Game 1, Game 2, it was just a skill, straight up destruction from NIP. I mean, Gore, you know, we were watching a game and we are just like, geez, he's putting on a clinic.
PERDO was the one kind of coming through. I mean, when it came down to it, I was like, this guy has either been there or not. He's either really great or sometimes he's just another player in the game. But this time, that was PERDO. Like, that was all him. He had the streaks going. He was just playing insane on that Androxus. And that was exactly what the team needed. I mean, they looked like they were going to have control anyway, but he was like the final nail in the coffin. He kept making sure that Renegades wouldn't be able to do anything there, and he just led the way.
I think a big thing that also happened with this particular kind of lineup is I didn't think the drafts were too bad for either side, but you look at the ults that NIP could bring to the table. Androxus, you have the punch on Drogos, the immortality on Fernando, and all of these things are very impactful. They are instantaneous, they are very big on the field, and it's hard to deal with those when they can just queue them up and use their abilities right away and make such a big impact, especially when you can just punch out the Inara, who's known for lasting there, or punch out a Buck who's about to kill your Torv.
Yeah.
I mean, that is incredible.
Yeah, that's some just incredible play from NIP. By the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule here. If you were, you kind of sleeping under a rock, you didn't know that we were starting a little early here. We started at 12:30, as a matter of fact, and we kicked it off with the Chinese team, China Honor, going up against Nocturnes Gaming. But Nocturnes, well, they were able to dominate that one 2-0. Let's take a look at the schedule here when we get a chance and see what's going to be coming up next as well. So you just caught NIP versus Renegades. That means that tomorrow they will move on, NIP, to face off against Kenga Esports. Kenga has a lot of fans. I was looking on the chat and stuff, people really cheering them on. Excited to see this, this clash here.
It's a matchup that I am really excited to be a part of. Like, I think I get to be the guy in the desk there, and I happen to love both teams. I mean, Kenga is an incredible roster, and they just have the experience and the knowledge to take these games. They are always in the semifinals, and I think this is going to be one of those real hot sets.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
My favorite quote, I think, that I've heard from Pretty Hair was, "They're the dudes, dude," about Kenga. Like, he just, that is his team, and he's ready to go for it. I expect them to, I want to see them do well, because they have a habit of losing to the teams that always go to the finals. They're always losing to finalists, so I'm expecting a lot from that set. I think it's going to be interesting.
All right, well, we'll get to that later on. That's down the line. But for now, in the immediate time, we have the one and only Tigress down to the stage with one of the players from NIP. Take it away.
Thanks, Golden Boy. We got Laizy over here that we just saw rocket real hardcore on the Buck, on the Drogos. And one thing, Rain Day had mentioned that in the crowd, y'all were kind of saying, "Oh, we should win this one." What instilled your team with that much confidence?
So the confidence, I mean, everybody was like saying that it was a free win for us. But even for me coming up to this tournament, I was really scared, even of Renegades, because back then we also lost to G2. But we were really confident in this series, more or less. After the first win, we were like, "Oh, okay, we're good now. We're fine." But coming up to the first point fight on Frozen God, when bonkar got one shot, then I was like, "Oh, okay, they killed one of us. We might actually be in trouble now." But
Definitely. And one thing when we were kind of chatting here, you're talking about how you have the nerves, and even throughout it all, even with the confidence from your team, being around the scene as long as you have those nerves always been that intense and kind of sticking with you?
It's always been the same with my nerves. Like, it's been my biggest weakness coming into the tournament. Pretty much any tournament, playing the first game, I'm always shaking. My hands just becomes cold, and I'm like the only one that's having that issue on my team. But like, it gets better over like the games. So.
Well, even with your nerves and everything, you still played really well. I think everyone that was watching can agree with that one. And a lot of the casters were talking about how NIP could actually be one of the teams to contest for that victory. Do you agree that you can maybe take home the entire thing with the PWC?
Yeah, it's looking good so far from what I've heard, and I like our bracket so far. I'm more worried about the other Chinese team in bracket B, so hopefully that's going to be a good finals right there.
So do you feel that you have kind of one of the harder brackets going into it, or some matches that you're not really so sure on?
I mean, when it comes to playing Europe versus Europe, of course we are worried about playing Virtus Pro, because we used to also like scrim them a lot, so we kind of know what we do when we play against each other. We know each other inside out. So obviously playing against any European team is pretty much like the most difficult thing for us.
Well, with this event, there's a lot going on, and I'm sure that you're looking forward to every single second of it. Of course, we're going to go to a short break in just a moment and have more action in a bit, so everybody, see you then.